Hey guys, I'm Krista, and this is my big sister Stacey.
And this is Sister Social Call. Well, hey, sissy.
Hello, sister. How are you?
Well, I am pumped. The spaceship Artemis was just launched today. We are witnessing history in the making. The first time in our lifetime, we are going to see 4 people go to the moon.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. Well, that'll be great.
All I could think about was these people surviving, right? They are putting their life on the line to go to the moon and do like a lap.
Yes. But when you are so passionate about something, this is all that you want to do. So this is actually them being able to live a huge dream. And
Yes.
whether they make it or they don't, if they don't make it, they will be doing something they're absolutely passionate and absolutely love. So it'll be interesting to see, kind of pay attention to what happens in the next little bit with all that.
Yeah, because they are going further in space, potentially, than any human has ever gone before.
Oh boy.
And there's only been 24 people, apparently, that have seen the dark side of the moon.
Wow.
Like, it's wild. And like our first Canadian, first woman, first Black person. It's unbelievable. Very exciting. Alrighty. Well, we want to welcome all of our listeners back to Sister Social Call and say a very special hello to all of our new listeners.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome back, and welcome to all of our new joiners here. Thank you for joining the Sister Social Call.
Yes. Last week, Chrissy and I shared our ongoing family crisis. And before we get into this week's episode, we really want to say thank you so very much for reaching out and sharing stories, your kind words, and your support to us. It truly means the world to us. And it really affirmed what we already know, that we're not the only ones going through a family crisis of addiction. We heard so many of you share stories about drugs, alcohol, and gambling addictions, and we hold those near into our hearts. So thank you. And we know that being vulnerable and sharing is what actually deeply connects us to you. So thank you for being on this journey with us.
Yes, thank you everybody for reaching out, for listening, for sharing with us what you have going on as well, and just for being a part of all of this. I think this really shows why we wanted to do Sister Social Call, the podcast. When we do these types of episodes, it really connects people together, or connects us with other people. We don't feel so alone in times that are hard. And I think that's a big part of making it through some of the hard times, and healing and growth is that we aren't doing it alone. So thank you to everybody for all of your kind words and your stories that you've shared. So on this episode, I really wanted to do an episode a little bit more deeper, of a deeper dive into discussing boundaries and how we're coping with this. Just kind of on the tail feathers of that episode, I thought it'd be really important to kind of talk a bit more in depth about that, because as you all know that have been listening for a long time, and for those of you that are new, I have been doing an incredible amount of work, personal work, over the last 3 years, really specifically. This has become like boundaries and obviously coping and regulating and all that kind of stuff has become forefront in my life. It's something that I work on weekly in our women's group, or bi-weekly when we get together, and consciously on an everyday basis. Oh, you're always evaluating and reassessing and listening to your gut feeling, or feeling what's going on inside your body and your nervous system, and all the situations that we get put in every day, and all the people that we encounter every day. And it's as we get more in tune and aligned with ourselves, our ability to tolerate things that don't align with us, our beliefs, our morals, our values, we become less tolerant of it. The more the more true we live to ourselves that we live. In my women's group last week, the last week we met as a group, we worked an entire class on boundaries, energetic boundaries, and boundaries just in general, but mostly we were doing this exercise on energetic boundaries. So we each got this rope and we got to put our rope around us, and that was kind of our boundary, and we got to make it as big or as small, as wonky, as open as we wanted. And then we walked around it and we felt out our boundary. So we like stood in the front of our circle, or if it was a square or whatever shape it was, we could stand in the front of it. Okay, that feels pretty good. What if we turn our backs to the front? Okay, that maybe doesn't feel as good. Or what if we walk around the edge of our rope? Oh, that feels a little bit dicey. Like there is an energetic feeling to that. And this is kind of, that was to represent like our energetic boundary that we have. And it was really interesting because, when we go into life, into situations, and the best one I can really describe is going to my friend's 40th birthday the other weekend. It was going to be in a bar. I don't typically go to places like this anymore. It's going to be a lot of people. That's not what I really enjoy usually. When I go out, I'd rather have quality one-on-one time or like small group as opposed to a big group. However, I do enjoy situations like this with the right people. So it was interesting because before I went, I was really figuring out, okay, where's my energy going to be when I go in here? And just trying to like, okay, I'm just, I'm going to just have this space that's kind of close to me. Anyways, it was just a really cool exercise. It was very interesting timing for this to happen. But we've just been doing so much work on boundaries and having them with, in work, having them in our personal life, having them with family members, having them with partners, having them with friends. It becomes like a thing that we end up dealing with on a day-to-day basis. It's so important. And I think what's the most important part of it is that the less boundaries we have and the less true we stay to our boundaries that we create, the further we get away from our truest self. And it's hard to come back to that because that was what I've been working on myself for the last 3 years. The whole coming back home to yourself. And the reason that we get so far away from that is because we're people pleasing. We are not having boundaries. We are not living in our alignment. We aren't living our truest selves. And then you just get so far away from what that really is and who that person really is. It's a hard slog to get back to that person and who that person is and what that person is and what the person stands for.
I have a question about your exercise that you did. Did you just use one piece of rope or did you use multiples to represent different circles of boundaries?
That's a really great question, but we had one really long rope. So the rope went around my circle a few times because my circle wasn't super big. And some people chose to just have their rope as one big circle. And then some people had it wrapped around a couple times. Like it was a very individual exercise. And so my space was a little bit smaller. I didn't have like a huge, big area. And I used my rope went around it a couple times. And then at one point in time, I decided to open it up, like open up the ends. So just to leave a little bit of a gap there. And I didn't love that. Like the feeling of it made me a little bit uneasy. But I felt fine walking around my circle, around the edges of it. I felt fine at the front, at the back. But when I opened it, it felt a little bit different to me. Anyways, it was quite an interesting exercise, but it really helped to put a visual to that space around you when you go out anywhere, when you're at work, you're going to the grocery store, you're even just going over to have coffee with a friend, Sometimes it's important to have that so that your system doesn't get totally blown out by the energy that you're around, which can super easily happen if you're a pretty energetic person like myself. I can pick up on people's energy, which this helps me out a lot at work because I'm in people's space and people are in my space. It's really hard to have that separation, but doing that exercise really helps me to just keep that little bit of distance. It doesn't need to be much, but there just needs to be enough that I'm not taking in everything that comes my way. So very cool. If there's one thing I could suggest to people is to do exercises like this, look it up online. I'm sure you can find stuff and really figure out what that is for you. But that whole circle that you asked about kind of brings me to something else that I learned really early on when I was started working with Christine. And we were talking about different relationships I have with people in my life. I'm going to use the example of my mom. Sorry, mom. So my mom and I have had a very interesting relationship our whole life. We are very close, but there has been some lost trust in our life, in my life with her. I don't hold this against her at all, but when I first started working with Christine, this came up in a lot of my sessions with her. And I felt like, it's my mom and she should be close to me and yada yada. And I just feel like there's something in the way and there's this expectation that you should have this relationship or in general say, but in this case, it was with my mom. And she said, okay, well, we have this boundary circle. And she brought out this diagram and it was boundaries. And so there's me in the center of it, and then there's a little circle around it. And then from that circle, the circle gets bigger and bigger, but there's more and more distance from the center where you are. And so she, said like, it's okay. You can still love your mom and maybe she's just 4 circles out. That's fine. Your sister and you're really close and she's right there in the center circle with you. You can have all these relationships in your life. They can all exist together and be at different parts of this boundary circle. As you all know, what's happening with my dad, he's on the very outside circle right now. There's no trust there. I've set a boundary. In fact, he's on the outside of that circle. But the circle is fluid and the people can move in and around this throughout different things that happen in life. So over the last 3 years, my mom was on the 4th rung, we'll say. And now I would say my mom is in the like close circle with my with my sister, like right in there. And it's just been consistency and us having a consistent relationship. It hasn't had to be this whole big thing. It's just we've been consistent in each other's life. And through that, we've rebuilt trust with each other and our relationships become stronger. And so she's moved. It's okay to have people at different spots. It doesn't mean that you don't love them. It doesn't mean that you don't want to be friends with them. It's just that they're just at a little bit further circle than your very close one. And that was really important to learn as well, because I think sometimes we can create these boundaries and feel like it's the end of that relationship or end of that friendship or the end of that situation or whatever. And it doesn't necessarily need to mean that. It just means right now, the flow is outward. It's not ebbing inwards. You know what I'm saying? So they're maybe out here, but in a couple years, that person may flow back in a couple rings into your life, right? Like hopefully, I pray that my dad things will change and he will be able to come back closer. Right now, I can't say that's going to be the case, but that's the goal is to and just it's okay to know where you have people at and it's all good. Doesn't mean that you dislike them, that you hate them, that anything like that. They're just not in your really close circle, you know? And you may only have one person in that circle with you or close to you.
And you kind of touched on this both in your rope exercise and also this imagining the circles and where people fall within your circle is alignment. Sometimes people are more aligned with you and they're going to be closer to your circle and they'll be in your circle and that feels good. And then sometimes they're out of alignment and they're further away from the center. And yeah, they can come and go. But you have a job to do is to also hold yourself to those boundaries. Like, yes, they can
Right.
come in and out, but you have a job to if you want to be your authentic self, you got to hold pretty true to what your boundaries are.
Right. And I think the more you learn what that all looks like for yourself, when it's not all lined up and you feel it from the inside. You start to feel uneasy. You feel like a lump in your chest, that gut feeling. You feel anxious. You feel nervous. Your hands get clammy or in different situations because it isn't aligning with your true self, whatever, right? And so I think there becomes these little signs that our bodies show us the more in tune we get with that alignment. But yeah, it as everything in life, things ebb and flow. And so we grow as people, and so do the people around us. Maybe we go, like, nothing is necessarily permanent,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
which I think is really important to remember. There's always room to build, to grow, to learn, to explore. And it's important to keep an open mind to all of that.
One of the books that we read earlier this year was The Let Them Theory in our Slow Readers Book Club. In episode 40, we reviewed it, but I found that book to be very helpful in reminding me about boundaries. The first part of the book is the theory that let people show themselves to you, which that will be very indicative of if they are aligned with your boundaries and your value system. But then the second part is let me decide what I tolerate, let me decide how I respond, let me choose where my energy goes. And that is where boundaries live. And I really found her book to be very helpful in the second part, is how I react, because I can control my behavior. I can control my tone, my responses, my attitude, my coping skills. And so I am a strong believer in protecting my peace and to not let others' needs trump mine. And that it's ended a couple friendships because I've chosen me,
Right.
and that's going to happen.
Totally. And that is uncomfortable for people because people aren't used to not being told no, but people are so used to everyone always saying yes or agreeing or jumping on board with them because we're
Mm-hmm.
people pleasers and we don't want to ruffle things, and can be a little bit uncomfortable. So yeah, the Let Them Theory was a really great book, and honestly I find myself reiterating that a lot to myself in certain situations.
Mm-hmm.
Let them, and now let me. And I think that, yeah, that's a good book. It's a good one to even probably revisit at some point. It can be a good reminder. You could read it once and then read it again a few years later, be like, oh yeah, I needed that reminder again.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Besides boundaries, how else are you taking care of yourself these days?
Oh gosh. In this context, like with what's been going on with dad, it's been a lot of walking, which is good because I need it for the motion as lotion. Um,
And it moves that negative energy through you.
yeah, and just going to the trees. That's a
Yeah.
big thing for me, is getting out into the trees. I didn't realize, like, living in Saskatchewan, we don't have very many trees in the southern part, and how healing trees are for me. I love being in them.
That's a good thing to observe about yourself for sure.
Yeah. Um, Lifting heavy things and dropping them. There's nothing that makes me happier than than lifting heavy, like doing a solid deadlift. Oh my goodness. And then just dropping the barbell. Like, it's very satisfying. Or something that's been new to me is taking a wall ball or a medicine ball and just slamming it into the ground. That is a great and very healthy way to take out any anger issues that are
Yeah.
going on.
Smashing things.
Yes.
That sounds unreal.
Yeah. But like, getting back to going outside, it's just so nice that the days are longer right now and the sun is coming up earlier. Like, that also I find very helpful, is just the sunshine. I don't feel like I have seasonal affected disorder, but I do love that, like, almost 8 o'clock and it's still light out, and that just makes things a lot easier, because even going out for a walk at 8 o'clock at night is then doable. right? Like, I don't feel like I need to curl up into my bed because it's dark out kind of thing.
Yeah.
But, and probably having a hot bubble bath or going to the hot springs. And then last but certainly not least in the things that I do that I've been using to cope right now is I just call my inner circle. So we were talking about who goes in there earlier in the pod, and it's like I call you and Mom or Zenna, Kimmy, Ashley, talk to Sean. Those are the things that I do when I'm feeling like I'm overwhelmed or I'm struggling coping with the situation that we have going on. What about
Yes.
you, sis? Did I miss any that you do?
Well, I movement is my big thing. So
Mm-hmm.
one thing I've learned about myself is when things are out of whack, I feel it in my solar plexus instantly. It just goes right there. So the best way for me to move and to take care of myself is, yes, the walking. Like, I'm a mover when there's a lot of energy flowing through me, which is almost all the time. It's like I am a very energetic person, but walking is huge. And then a good dance party. So that's a big one for me. Just throw on some electronic dance music and just have a quick dance party. It really helps to like shake that out of you, and like really move it through you, which is something that I never connected the dots until we started doing all this work with Christine, but I'm a mover. Like I like to walk, I like to dance. I rarely sit down in a day, and it's just like that constant moving of energy. But I like another thing for me is obviously my painting,
Mm,
you puzzling.
mm-hmm.
But painting is a big one for me. And as you said, like same thing with your puzzling. You get into puzzling and nothing else like you can just get right into the moment. The same with me and painting. Oh, 100%. It is, and it's creative and it's an outlet. And so the thoughts and the words that maybe don't necessarily come to my brain or whatever, they can come out in a paint stroke or color. Or when I start to feel overwhelmed, I go inward a lot. I'm not somebody that really necessarily always needs to reach out to people. Yes, like you and Mom, but I'm not the type of person. I've realized this because in our group, we're always very encouraged to reach out to each other. That's not really how I deal with stuff. I'm a loner and I like to just I can deal with things on my own and I'm good with that. And I used to kind of feel like, frick, I need to be sharing more with my group, or I need to be telling them about what's going on in my life. And I've just come to realize that that's not me, and I share a lot in my chair. And of course we share on the podcast, but it's just a little bit different. And I'm okay with that because I'm good where I'm at with things. But anyways, I think we've covered a lot of ground as far as like having boundaries and self-care. I hope this is a little bit inspiring to people around us that are going through similar situations or going through some interesting moments in their life or navigating diverse complex things, whatever. I hope this helps. Do you think that we should move into our pits, peaks, and plans? Or did you have any last things to say to all that?
No, let's move along.
Just move right along. Okay.
I'll go first.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. I don't have any pits.
That's great.
Peaks. So we went to our friend's short film that was
I
about
was
him.
wanting to ask about this. I'm so excited you're going to talk about it.
Yes, it was called Jose, and it was a really fun night out. The bar was packed. It was the first time living in Invermere that I felt like I live in a small town, because when I walked in, there was so many people that we knew. And that was really lovely. Like, that is really the first time I felt that in my community. But even today I was out walking, I got stopped twice by people driving.
Yes, you are getting into small town living things.
Yeah. So anyways, that was really fun that night. End of the movie night, one of Sean's friends asked me what I was going to do, like if I was going to come out with them. I'm like, no, I'm going home to drink water in my bed and go to bed early. But I came home and had a tea and did a puzzle, which was awesome. Sean didn't come home till 1:30 in the morning. They had a very late night at the bike shop afterwards, but that's great. It was awesome. It was so good to celebrate Jose. Oh, I've gone on lots of walks with friends lately, and while some of the walks I've been doing solo, I've been listening to some very mind-bending, expanding podcasts. It feels like science fiction world, but it's not. And so I got to get deeper into some science in my life. So that's been really interesting and good for my brain. What else has been going on? Oh, I went for a pedicure, so that's good self-care. Oh, and then I was actually going to talk about this in when we were talking about a little bit about energy and movement of energy just right before here. But I went to my physio, and as I've told on the podcast lots before, I have problems with my arms, wrists, hands. They just hurt so much, and like I have some weird tingling. They go numb pretty often, and anyways, so I've been working with a physiotherapist that specializes in hands, and she was doing IMS on my hands.
What is IMS?
I think it's intermuscular stimulation. It's like needling in my hands. And so she has done my hands before, and it's not terribly pleasant, but it's not usually bad. Anyways, I don't know what's going on this past appointment, but she only needled me in my left hand twice. The second time was just below my thumb in the big fatty part. And I was like, oh, that was a hard one. Like, that was a little bit painful and hard. She does my right hand. First one was okay. Second one, I had an instant emotional response, crying on the table instantly. And she's like, just let it go. Energy needs to pass. Like, just if it's tears that need to run down your face, like, just let it happen. So I've never had a response like that to being needled ever. I get needled regularly in all different types, like in my shoulders, quads, like everywhere, because when I have tight muscles that can't release, that's my go-to, is go for some physio and get them to needle me. So that was a lot that day, but I just trust that it was like some energy that just needed to go, and she
Yeah.
hit it. She hit it
Amazing
real good.
release. Like, lucky for you, actually. That is a gift.
As for plans, well, I have a 5-day weekend coming up. So
Oh,
that is exciting. Brother
dreamy.
Neil is on his way out, so we are very excited about that. I'm going for a hike with a girlfriend that I'm very excited to visit because um, she always has good, juicy family drama too.
Trauma bonding.
Yeah, exactly. And we're just, yeah. So we always connect about our wacky families. I'm really pumped to spend a couple hours with her and get a life update, and got a phone date with Zena. So, and then I just think I'm going to try and spring clean a little bit more this weekend, but it's not a priority because it's Easter, and Neil's here. But whatever. It's just another nice weekend around home. And because I'm back to Victoria next week again for work. So
Right.
just real quick turnaround. But anyways, how about you, sis?
Well, I have no pits as well, but I've got a few peaks. So, well, first things first, I had that ultrasound done on the lumps, which this is kind of mind blowing to me because I can feel them, my doctor can feel them, but they did not show up on the ultrasound. So I'm going to go with no news is good news on that one. And I'll keep an eye on them. And if they grow or anything, then I'll be having some more words with my doctor. T-Sac and I went to Singo on Friday. We didn't win, but it was still fun. I went to drop off Stacy's birthday present with BN because he's going out there to see them. And oh, I got to plan your birthday episode. Holy shit, life's gotten away on me. Oh my God. Okay. Anyways, I'm
I
going to do
get
that
I
tonight,
gave Chrissy full permission to plan my birthday episode, and I
which we're
don't even.
recording that on Tuesday. Don't forget, because you're going to be in Victoria.
I know.
Okay.
And I said I don't even have to look at her 45 questions that she's going to ask me for my 45th birthday. So be pre- be prepared.
Be prepared. It's going to be amazing. I got to think of 45 juicy, juicy questions. Anyways, but I got to see BN, which I haven't seen BN in a long time. So that was nice. And oh, my other peak, you guys, I have made so far 75 cents on my Blooms and Brushstrokes YouTube channel.
Hey, it's better than zero. That's exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You've also been approached twice by companies.
I have. I've had 2 watercolor paint / supply companies reach out to me to demo their products and do them in videos. So the imposter syndrome is high right now, like so bad. But also in like the best Krista fashion, I'm like, you know what? I think I'm just gonna say yes to them and just go for it. Because I'll never learn until I do it. Anyways, but Stacey's been helping me a lot with that. I just sometimes need a second person's opinion. And so I'm forwarding her the emails and she does a little bit of research, whatever. So she's helping me out with that. Takes teamwork makes the dream work, I tell you. But
I
yeah, kind of
offered to
funny.
be her manager already.
Yeah. Well, on 75 cents in 2 days on the YouTube, we're not going to be making much, sis.
Well, that's where everybody starts at zero, sissies. So
I'm very aware, but anyways, it's pretty fun to I hope one day I can buy some paints with some money that I make off of YouTube. That's all that I care about. Truly, anything above that will be a blessing. But I would just absolutely love to say, I bought these paints with my YouTube income. Like that would be amazing. Anyways, plans. You guys, I don't have a lot of plans coming up, which is quite glorious. To be honest, I've been really just loving kind of chilling out and letting the days I've been walking lots. I've been recording a YouTube video for Blooms and Brushstrokes every weekend on Saturdays so that I can put them out on Tuesdays. So I'm really trying to stick with that consistency. So I'll be doing that on Saturday. And then I don't know, like I might see if mom wants to hang out. There's going to be some Easter something or other going on with her family, but again, I don't know really what that's going to look like for me just with the current situation in our fam jam. So I'm just going to be winging it this weekend. And I'm really excited about it. So that's pretty much it, you guys. Not a lot going on, but I'm very, very, very excited about that. So I think that's going to do it for a little pod this week, sis. So as usual, friends and listeners, if you guys enjoy the podcast, think anybody that you know would benefit from hearing it, please do share it with all the people you love, people that you think would really enjoy it. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do that. That really definitely helps us out and really helps to promote our our content. The more subscribes, the reviews, all that kind of stuff. So if you can do that for us, we would greatly, greatly appreciate that. If you want to find us on social media, you can find Sister Social Call on Instagram. You can find Stacey on Facebook and LinkedIn, and you can find myself, Krista, on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. And I think that's going to wrap it up for us tonight, sissy.
love you, sissy.
Love you too, sis.